Hey, this is Vanessa Marquez, and I got sold.
Well, we just wanted to start out, can you just kind of tell us how you got your break into the industry and, what led to your signing with the Neptunes?
Well, basically, I was recording since I was 12 years old, just with local producers here and there. And finally, there was these producers that I was working with that I started doing demos with, and they felt that I had some great material, so they were like, we need to shop for around. So we went to New York, and there we met with Arista. There was an A&R there by the name of Danny Ortiz. And he was like, you know what, I have some producers in mind. Can I take your demo and see what I can do with it? So that led to him going to the studio with Neptunes. And so he played my demo for Pharrell and Chad, and at the time they were actually recording with Justin Timberlake. So when they all heard the stuff, they kind of just were really excited and wanted to meet me and just possibly even sign me. So when Justin heard my stuff, he's like, well, if you sign her, you definitely got to put her onto my album, which was freaking amazing.
Yeah.
But that's basically how I met Pharrell and Chad and had the privilege of meeting with them, sitting down with them, re-listening to all their music, and then I actually met with L.A. Reid, which was at Arista, and I actually had to perform, and I got interviewed, kind of like a showcasing in New York, and since then, that's when I got signed.
Okay, very cool. Now, talk about working with the Neptunes, and, what was the creative process like working with them?
Well, I mean, they're pretty much geniuses. What I liked about them is when I go to the studio, it's not like, this is a song you're going to work on, that's it, It's actually like, okay, well, what kind of mood are you in? What are you feeling? Are you feeling like a dance track, enough tempo, a slow, mid-tempo? And so we kind of just vibe off of that. And then from there, Pharrell would lay down whether it's a track, a piano track, a drum track, and then Chad would come in and put his spin on it as well. And then from there, basically we just started writing, and the music begins. I know that a lot of producers, like I said, would have something in mind for the artist, but what I liked about them, they definitely tried to include me on everything and gave me my own freedom as to how I wanted to sing it, and I mean with direction, of course. But they let me play around, and I enjoyed that. And not only that, there's people that would come in and out, which were huge artists, which gave me an opportunity and open doors to actually get on, their album.
So,
but okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, what year was that when you originally signed, when you met the Neptunes, and then when you signed and performed in front of L.A. Reid? What year around was that?
That was probably, I want to say about 2002, 2003.
Oh, okay. Because we've heard some of your songs, that you had with the Neptunes and stuff like that from years ago. Talk about, were you working on an album at the time, and how was that coming along?
Well, when I was doing my demoing, I was definitely wanting to do an album. But when I actually signed with Pharrell, he definitely just wanted to do a completely whole new album. But at the time when I signed with Arista folded and no longer was a record company.
Right.
So we had to do a joint venture because he had to re-sign with another major label, which he signed with Interscope.
Okay.
And at Interscope, I actually had to do a showcasing again for Jimmy Ising. In return, I ended up signing a joint venture with Interscope and Turo, with the Neptunes.
Okay.
And yeah, I want to say it was about 2003. Then we started recording. I want to say several songs until he had a high demand on working with different artists before his actual artist on the label.
Right.
So it kind of took a little bit of his time away from all his artists. So instead of trying to do the complete album, he was working with like Gwen Stefani and Snoop and JT, Usher, all these big artists that he was putting me as background. So I was still getting credits here and there, but didn't really get a chance to finish the album. And then he had this whole idea, and I could just see it clearly, like it was yesterday when we're at the studio. He sat me down, and he was like, "You know what? I have a vision of 3 girls, and you're part of it." And he goes on, and he's like, "What do you think of that?" And I was a little taken off by that, because being that I was signed as a solo artist.
Right.
But I still, I give it a shot. I was like, you know what? I'm going to put my ego aside, and if he sees this as being a creative, and it was awesome. What got me was 3 Latin girls singing R&B, pop R&B, and switching it over to the Spanish market. And the Latin world is huge, and their followers are very dedicated to the music. And so I was just like, I'm going to give it a shot. And I'm pretty sure you guys know, the whole group thing. He wanted to call us a fair. The second member was Natasha Ramos, which was also signed to Turo. But we just never had luck finding the third member.
Right.
And once that happened, we did find a third member, Tiffany Viaz. She came in. We all did some tracks together, and at the time, though, I believe she was talking to Aftermath Records, and I think she ended up signing with them.
Right.
So shortly after that, me and Tasha talked about it, and we told Pearl, why can't it just be me and Natasha? And he just didn't budge in. So me and Tasha talked about it, and I told her I was just gonna try to get out of my contract and just try to do my own thing.
Right. We've actually had a chance to talk to Tiffany and Natasha a couple times, and we're supporters of their music as well. Did you guys get a deal as the group, or was that just like a vision that never kind of came to anything? Because we've heard some songs you recorded as well, but
yeah, no, the contracts were undergoing, so it was going to be a for sure thing. It's just that I think when everything was going down, we didn't know that Tiffany had another deal on the table.
right.
So it kind of took us off guard, and we're like, oh, well, finally we have the third member that we meshed well together, and then that happened.
Right.
Okay, cool. So, back to your solo career, because we've had a chance to hear a couple of the songs that you did. One being, of course, on the Clones album, the song "Good Girl." Talk about that song and why they decided to put that on the album.
Okay. Well, we actually had, I want to say, three tracks in mind. One being Good Girl, and everybody just loves Good Girl. There was a friend czar that was possibly going to make it as well. Good Girl just came about that, you know, Pharrell saw me, like, you know what, you're such, like, a good person, you're a good girl. And so we just kind of streamed off that, and Good Girl came about. We played it for, you know, some executives and some of our friends, and everybody gravitated to that song, so that's why he chose that song. And he told me, he's like, I'm going to do a compilation album, and I definitely need a song from you, and this is the song I'm going to pick. And he asked me, because, you know, sometimes the artist can get a little upset, and I don't really like that song. It's not, it doesn't, I don't think it really shows my vocal abilities. To me, it was very simple, very radio friendly, and fun. So we just went with it. Unfortunately, it never got to be an actual single.
Yeah.
We were fighting for that. Me and my management, and he was almost going to give in when this whole group thing happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
Aside from that song, you know, you mentioned Friends Are, which, you know, got some spins on some radio stations. You know, was there any plans for you to release a single?
I mean, there was a time, and that was the time that he wanted to release it was when I actually got the single out for Justin Timberlake, Rock Your Body.
Okay.
So we all sat down and we're like, you know, that's the perfect time to actually release a single and try to create the buzz, try to get you out, because that's, you know, that's the perfect setup. And we discussed it, and for whatever reason, we never got a single out because he was also working on other projects.
Okay. If you had a choice, or what single were you guys considering to put out? Or what song were you considering to put out?
Well, I mean, it was probably going to be the Good Girl song.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was on the compilation album, and, you know, that got really good feedback, and a lot of great artists were on that album. But that was like the perfect timing of everything, because the feature with Justin, and then I also did the I'm Loving It campaign with McDonald's. The original song was with Justin Timberlake. So that was pretty big for me as well. So all these things were lining up, but the single never got such.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then another song that, you know, ended up on your MySpace is a song called Want You to Know. Can you just talk about that song a little bit?
Oh, yeah. I Want You to Know was written and produced by J.R. J.R. is a producer in which Kenny Ortiz, the A&R guy at Arista, the one that introduced the whole Pharrell gathering, he linked me up with JR, and he was like, you know, we need to do some demos, you know, just create a sound. So he created that sound, and I really loved that song. And we're actually trying to get Justin on that song. And everybody thinks it's Justin Timberlake on it, but he's not on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we sat down, and he actually had written it, but he did all the music there when we were recording.
Okay.
And yeah, so that song came about just trying to get the demos together, and JR had this, you know, the sound in mind, and I kind of told him, you know, I want it R&B, but not, where it's not singable, and Yeah.